Good afternoon to everyone. I'm very happy to see that many of you joined us for this afternoon session. This is a special educational session which already happened once during the history of our conferences, and it's a very huge pleasure to welcome here Professor Eva Maria Neher, who is the founder and first executive and managing director of X-Lab in Göttingen. She earned her PhD in Göttingen in biochemistry. Later on, she did some postdoctoral work in the Yale University, if I remember well. No? In Göttingen, yeah, sorry, in the biophysical chemistry department, yeah, sorry. Yes, and she's the happy mother of 5 children, if I remember well, yeah, and her main job was in the last decades to fund and lead this excellent institute, which I was lucky to visit twice already, and our students visited it many times. She will speak about this institution, which has a very nice building as well from 2004. Yeah, and we will, after her presentation, we will continue with some questions from your side. And later on, we will continue with a small conversation with Professor Gyöngyvér Molnár, who is the director of the Institute of Education here at the local university, Szeged University, and also with Dr. Zsolt Erőshonti, who is the director of Fazekas Mihály Secondary School. And now I would like to ask Professor Eva Maria Neher to give us her lecture.
Yeah. Sandor, thank you very much for your nice introduction, and I really hope that you will not lose interest in what I'm going to present. I have just to make sure that you get the idea. I have both. I have a video inserted in my presentation, but I didn't know whether this will work. And therefore, I added quite a lot of images later on. And so we can, if we are running short of time, we can skip some of these images. And for the story is already told within the short video. Okay, so the building is a very colorful, nice building on the campus of Göttingen, and it is called the X-Lab, and teaching science in a research-like environment. And this is definitely very, very important for me. For very often at high schools, you do experiments which are somehow similar, but very, very simple to the real research experiments. And since we want to inspire students to study, to take up a university study, I'm convinced that they have to see and to learn about what is science really like. So, I go to the next slide. And this X-Lab, what does it mean? It's so simple. The X comes from experimental, and the lab simply means laboratory. Just simple. And the reason is, our main goal is to inspire young people to take up a career in science. For quite some decades, 2 decades before, the number of students in science was decreasing, and everybody was very, very much excited about, not in a positive sense, but in a negative sense. And so I got quite a lot of support by politicians and by the president of the university, so that we could start with this idea very, very quickly. Okay, and here is now the video, and I have to start it. I think I have to start it here. Let me see. Okay.
XLab takes science education in a whole new direction. The experimental laboratory on the campus of the University of Göttingen bridges the gap between school and university. Its courses are aimed at young people from all over the world. By doing hands-on experiments, they develop a deeper understanding of science.
I like the fact that we do a lot of experiments in quite a short time, because the experiments that we're doing here this week in this course, this amounts to 1 semester's worth of experiments at our school.
The S1 Genetics Lab presents a good example of XLab's high-tech equipment. Students in the molecular biology course work in a real laboratory setting. An opportunity that is eagerly welcomed.
I have like 3 months vacation, so I can go to the beach, I can spend time with my friends, and I can also go to this camp, so why don't you go?
XLab organizes international science camps every year. 3 weeks of physics, chemistry, and biology courses from which the students can freely choose. Universities, colleges, elite schools, and talent development programs send their students to stay at XLab for 1 or more weeks. XLab thus prepares the young elites from around the world for a scientific career.
Learning how to work in a team and learning how to work in a lab for a whole day, how to design an experiment, how to prove a hypothesis. This is very, very important. And for most of the students, it was an important step when they applied for university later on.
The students learn the basic techniques of research in all fields, such as transferring DNA into plant cells using a gene gun, as we see here. The priority is always understanding through active participation.
Instead of learning the formulas, we are just learning the basic things, and we can use our knowledge by conducting some experiments. So it is very useful.
In neurobiology, tasks include recording signals from nerve cells. The students work with the exact same instruments as used in real research laboratories. One important lesson they learn is that scientific experiments don't always succeed on the first go. One needs tenacity and perseverance to be a scientist. XLab is therefore a perfect place for the students to discover which field they find the most fun and motivating to study.
Put it down to -50, please. Withholding current? No? Withholding current?
I think you learn best if you do it yourself. So if you really touch the stuff, get it into your hand, and really try to figure out the problem by doing it. And therefore, I can really say, if I would have had the possibility to visit a laboratory like this when I was a student, I would have enjoyed it hugely, and I think that's the biggest invitation I can say.
The XLab courses include visits to partner research institutes and outdoor excursions. These ecology students are out on a lake to study the ecosystem.
Very precise. It measures 400 to 700 nanometers wavelength, exactly that wavelength range that plants can use.
Like real researchers, the students work at real research sites, say in a forest or at a lake or river. They learn that ecology is less about romantic ideals of nature and more about understanding all the interactions in the biotope. Back at the XLab, they return straight to the bench to analyze their collected samples. The chemistry courses delve into topics such as reaction kinetics, dyestuff chemistry, and electrochemistry. The students isolate antibiotics and synthesize medicines such as aspirin. More than 150,000 students have worked in the laboratories of XLab since its founding in 1999. In the physics courses, students are introduced to laser physics, for example, and gain an understanding of radioactive phenomena. The course level at XLab is always adapted to the current group. In fact, it is not only school students who learn at XLab, but also teachers. Both target groups deepen their knowledge of theoretical physics through practice. In this advanced learning course specifically for teachers, the latest insights in elementary particle physics are presented. For example, what implications do the experiments at CERN have for the Standard Model? XLab thus gives teachers the chance to continue learning in courses tailored specifically to their needs, and to gain new stimuli for their own classes. Scientists of the university, nearby Max Planck Institutes, and other research institutes cooperate with XLab to bring teachers up to date with the latest research. Aside from science and lab work, the teacher and student courses offer no shortage of social activities. It is the perfect occasion for participants to make acquaintances with like-minded people from around the world.
We have a lot of opportunities. We have excursions, we go somewhere together, for example. There are people from all over the world, from China, Ukraine, like from Spain. Oh my God!
We heartily invite you to visit the XLab in Göttingen.
So you recognized your student, yes? Okay. Yeah, where is XLab? Maybe many of you have already been in Germany. Sander, of course, has it. And this is just a short distance to Germany from Hungary. And Göttingen is, after the reunification of the two parts of Germany, it is now in the middle of the country. And Göttingen is a small town. It is maybe comparable with the size of Szeged, not more. We have 130,000 inhabitants. And here you see the inner, the old city, which is the medieval center of Göttingen. And of course, these are the areas which are mostly built in the last 2 centuries. And the university started here in the middle of the town, of course, and then it moved, the buildings moved more and more to the surrounding of the city. What you see here is the old, the buildings of the old medical clinic. They are still there, they are under protection, and they are still in use by the university, but not by the faculty of medicine. Okay, what I want to tell you is the XLab idea and the concept, and then I go through these topics. So the campus, we are on the new science campus. The first institutes were built in 1970, and step by step more buildings were added. This campus grew a lot, and there in the middle is the XLab. And in the very beginning, I was asked, where should the XLab be built? And I said, there is no question. It has to be in the middle of the science campus, so that we can work together with the scientists of the nearby institutions and research organizations. So we are in the middle, and we cooperate, which was already said in the video, with faculty of Engineering with the Max Planck Institute for Solar System Research, with the Max Planck Institute for Experimental Medicine, Max Planck Institute for Biophysical Chemistry, where my husband is still working as an emeritus, and the faculties of the university. So we are not alone. And this, through cooperation, we achieve professionalism. All our teachers are not really school teachers. They are all scientists. But as a scientist, they have their experiences in a tiny area of their science. And we want to show the students or offer experiments from different disciplines. And therefore, we need to cooperate with the research institutions on campus. Okay, the mission, the mission is bridging the gap between high school and university. I'm watching him whether he can follow. Okay, so, and this is really very, very important for these two systems, the school system and the university. They develop in a different velocity. And of course, at school, students have to learn a broad a spectrum of all sciences, of all subjects, languages, history, literature, and else, and not only science. That's impossible. But in research, especially since about the middle of the last century, the research results were growing exponentially. So it is very difficult to bring all this to the high school students. It is not only difficult, it is impossible. But so just give the students the feeling that in research there is something going on which might interest them very deeply and might fascinate them. And this is what we want to achieve. Okay, and the concept is providing hands-on experiments. And one of our lecturers, Barbara Ritter, she said, if you do it by yourself, this makes a big difference. And this is actually the truth. Yeah, if you are at your high school, you are a science teacher in chemistry, for example, you do the experiment, and the students are sitting there. And you have to tell them, look, there is a gas coming out. And then you ask, what could it be? Or there are some bubbles. What is it? You have fun by doing the experiments. And the children, the students in the last row, they should be more or less frustrated in the end, you know. But in the reality of a normal high school, you hardly can change it. This is a situation, and you somehow have to deal with it. Okay, XLab hallmarks. Professionalism, I always told you, through cooperation with scientific institutions. Interdisciplinarity. So when we teach a topic in physics, in chemistry or in biology, the students makes the experience that it's not pure biology. There is also physics, informatics, and chemistry involved. So I have to have knowledge, basic knowledge from all these different subjects. For research today is an interdisciplinary work. You're not alone with your research question. you have to cooperate with the others, not only in your subject. And the next, for me, most important point is internationality. If you look at research, how it is done today, if you go to labs, to research institutions, whether it is in Okinawa or in Hong Kong or in Italy or in Barcelona or in places in North America or Buenos Aires, it doesn't matter. You will meet researchers from all over the world. That's why the language in research is nowadays English, for this is the one language which is common for all of them. So science is international, and this within the international camp, and the film, the video, was taken during the international camp. And what you saw is that there are so many students from different nations, from Ukraine and from Russia at the same time. And they have no problems with each other. They have a common interest in science. They don't act as politicians, and nationalism doesn't matter in this context. And that's the same thing with today with researchers from other nationalities meeting in the lab, and on the same time in their country terrible things are happening. Okay, but I don't want to go into policy. So I already pointed out this. So how could we become so international as we are today? And that's due to the fact that I was presenting the concept all over the globe. I think there is, I was on all, on the southern hemisphere and the north hemisphere. I was to New Zealand, to Australia, to all these different places to present the XLab. For this is the only way to make it known. And and everywhere, people were very much interested in what is going on, and they tried to copy it. It's not copying in a negative sense. I wanted them to copy it, and for sure, in all different countries, the XLab, maybe it will even named different, doesn't matter, and so the programs will different, but according to the local possibilities. Yeah, we in Germany we have. In Göttingen, we have the possibility with all these research institutes. In other places in Germany, there maybe is only a small university or no university. So the concept there has to be different, but the main goal is the same. Okay, so there are now new XLab. One is in Rosario in Argentina, but I haven't been there for more than 2 years now. And one is in South in Shenzhen, and maybe others are coming up, which I don't know. For example, what was this? Okay, the programs. We have programs for local schools and for schools from Germany. We have courses for students from abroad. So if you come with a group of students, as you did, from Hungary, for example, we will work out a special program for your group. If you ask only for courses in biology, we will set a program in biology. If you said, no, biology, I am here with a group of students who focus on physics. We want to do all experiments which are possible in physics. Then we will adjust according to your wishes, a special course. Yes, and then the teacher training courses were already mentioned, and then of course the international camp. The international camp takes place once a year in summer. Normally it is for 3 weeks. Sometimes we have an additional lab visits in the research institutes, and the number of participants is limited to 30, 35 sometimes. More are not possible. We cannot handle more, for it is a 24 hours service which we offer for the students. For they are not accompanied by a teacher who takes the responsibility, and they are young students. So we have tutors which are staying with them for the night, for the weekend, so that we want to make sure that nothing happened, no accident, no something. Okay, so, and this is the building. You see the 4 stories. The green one is biology and chemistry and physics and informatics, or more or less neurophysiology, for informatics is everywhere. Is everywhere. So this was in the beginning when people still had separate rooms for the computers. Today there is no computer. We have laptops and tablets for the experiments. Okay, but the typical structure is that we have a seminar room and we have a lab. And during the course, which is at least a day long, 8 hours, the students switch between these 2 rooms according to the experiment. There is no schedule like at a school, that there is a break at 10 and there's a next break at 11:30. No. The experiment makes the time schedule. When there is needed a time for incubation of a probe, the lecturer says, "Okay, now we can go. You can go outside. Be back in 15 minutes or so." This is the same for lunchtime. Next to the X-Lab, there is a university canteen, which is open between 12 and 2 o'clock or so. So whenever the experiment allows it, the students go for lunch to the university canteen. I have to look whether I'm running out of time. Yes. Okay. So you don't have to read and you don't have to translate. This is a list of experiments we can offer in physics, and so it's a long list, and there are such images which are taken in laser physics lab. You saw it already in the video. This is a list for the different experiments in chemistry, and this is just a small number of experiments which are possible, and there are new experiments developed every time. Okay, these are students doing measurements in enzyme kinetics. These are 2 students coming from Spain. Biology, of course, a very, very long list. The longest one we do have. And electrophoresis, your students just did the same this afternoon. And here is a student filling the gel with a probe. And this is a professional electrophoresic chamber, but it is nevertheless it is pretty similar to the one you used today. Okay, anatomy. This is something. We have an anatomist among our staff, and he is absolutely fascinated teaching anatomy for the students. But we cannot use, of course, human organs, and for medical students, human organs or bodies are used of dead people, this is impossible by ethical reasons, of course, was forbidden. And so we use the organs from a pig. And they are so similar to the human organs, and the students, they like it. They do not realize that there is somebody who is taking a picture. They are more or less with their nose within the organ. These are all students who want to become a medical doctor later on. Therefore, they have this deep interest. Let me see. This student is from Korea, and he is from Venezuela, and is now together with his brother. He was following him, studying in Germany. Maybe he already finished his studies. Molecular biology of plant. These are also students. I'm not sure, but yes, she is from Sweden. She's not from Germany. She's from Sweden, and ecology, you saw it in the film, I will go through. We do first is ecology, and with the real research instrumentations. And also the lake, you saw the lake already, and he is a passionate scientist. He never became a teacher. He is fascinated from science, but he can bring his own enthusiasm to the students, so that they can follow him. Neurobiology, this is one of the first experiments we had, measuring membrane capacities. Here, this is an image you already saw. This is a student from South Korea, I guess. This is Barbara Ritter. She is an enthusiastic teacher. And XLab International, we already had it. This is a program of a former international camp. You don't have to translate it. This is just the courses which we saw already. And so we had altogether until 2018, 770 participants from 50 different countries. So the internationality is really something. As you see, this big group in front of the building. We don't go into the numbers. And maybe one thing, the total number says that we definitely came to our limits. For the capacity of the building of the labs is limited. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, this will look completely different. There was no student from abroad, or only few, and we have to rise the activity again, which will happen. XLab alumni, I skip this, of course we have an alumni, and here I will look at the alumni. This list shows the country the alumni students come from. And if you focus here in the international camp, we already have 20 students from Hungary. And oh yes, Serbia are 2015 from Hungary. This is the angel in which I have to look at it. Okay, and today the students are looking how many students today are in Germany from this group, and let us go to Hungary. And so out of these 15, 4 students decided to continue or to take up their studies in Germany. So this is just one example, and okay. In Germany, no. 4 are today in Germany, 90. 4 are studying in Hungary. So out of these 15, 11 went to different places. But this is nice, it's good. Yeah. If we had the meeting today with the students from Germany studying in Szeged and also in Budapest, and it's the best thing they could do. Yeah, study abroad and come back, most of them. Okay, and the vision. Oh yeah. The XLab building has limited space. And what was limiting was not only the lab space, but also a place where they can stay overnight, where they can live and communicate in the evening and so on. And therefore, I wanted to build a communication center and guest house. And this was a vision, a picture, which was drawn, computer-wise, of course, already in 2012, when the XLab Foundation bought this area, this place. And of course, the prices were going up, and today we are talking about only about 2 of these small towers, but we are going to realize. I'm pretty much convinced, I hope so, that we can use this building, the guest house and the communication center with kitchen, restaurant and seminar rooms in 2024. So that means 10 years. The idea was already there in 2006. So you need endurance when you try to realize such a thing. Okay, but I'm still there and I'm struggling, and it's difficult. It's difficult, but yeah, as long as my head is on my shoulder, I think I will continue. Okay, and the other vision is, of course, bringing the idea to other countries. And I already told you, XLab China does already exist, and XLab in Argentina does also already exist. And yeah, the other places, maybe there are activities which I don't really know. They have a different name, it doesn't matter, but promotion of science is important and for everybody, for every country. Okay, I think this was my final slide, and I hope it was not too much information for you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your enthusiastic lecture. And we could see that if you dream something and you work very hardly and committed to make it in the real world, you will be successful in it. And it is very motivational for all of us. So thank you for your enthusiasm today. Okay. Now I would like to ask you if you have any questions to the professor. Please ask your questions. And I will translate it and give her the micro. Yeah, please.
Thank you. I have one question. How much does it cost if you want to spend these 3 weeks? How much does it cost for one student, for a group, for a teacher, for this teacher training course, if I want to take part in that? I think it's not for free. Yeah.
Okay, as we were until 2019, we were an NGO, a non-profit organization. And of course we had to earn money to do all this, you know. And nowadays the XLab is a part of the university. And financial wise, it is much easier today for them. In some aspect, but it costs. So the participation of a student who wants to stay for 3 weeks for the international camp, it costs around 3,000 euros. Altogether, you know, accommodation and course fee and everything is covered, except for the journey from your home country to the XLab. And there was, just now there was a request of a student who wants to participate, and he asked for support, for financial support. And I will see what I can do with my foundation, and I forwarded the email to Sander to make it possible. There are other countries, who are so rich and who are used to pay such huge amounts of money for education that it is really difficult to find the right price. So what we take is not covering the expenses, not at all, for the teaching, the salaries and so on. It is absolutely not covering. But people for example, from China, they are used to pay extremely high amounts of money for the education of their students. It's the different reality, and so nowadays and if you come as a single teacher to participate in the teaching training, there is more or less no fee. But you have to pay for accommodation and for everything of your personal life by yourself. This is the difference. The fee is more or less nothing. And normally the teacher training courses, they are in German, and this might be a problem. But if there is a group of teachers, so if you could find maybe a group of 6 to 8 or whatever teachers from your country, the teaching will be in English. Unfortunately, not in Hungarian, but it will be in English. But this depends on the group. And that's the same for a group of students coming from another country. We once had the limit that of 12 students should be within the group, but it was always flexible. And the cost were about 50 to 100 euros per day per student. So if the course lasts for 5 days, it was 250 to 600 to 500 euros, and yes, and that's it. But again, you have to pay for accommodation and food on your own.
Okay, I can tell that how much does it cost? I know this is a problem, but I can confess that this is worth. So it is worth to pay for this kind of education for the students and for the teachers as well. Okay, next question. There was some more.
Thanks. Okay, thank you very much for the insight. I'm here. Yes. So I have some technical questions. One, that the students participate in a project-based teaching or learning activity. So how do they report? Do they have a symposium or they produce a poster? Yeah.
The students participating in the international camp, they have a final symposium where they report their results. When a group is coming with accompanied by their own teacher, it is due to the teacher to organize something like a report, a written report, or an orally report at school, at home, or so. So then this responsibility is with the teacher. And we do it only when a group is under the responsibility of us.
All right, I see. And the other part is the age of the participants, and they are before Abitur, or how is the age? And the entry level, so how do they enter? Which is the background?
The age for the international camp, when the students come alone, is 17. So we want to have not too many underage, so they should be regarded as responsible adults. Yeah. But there are exceptions, of course. 16-year-old students, sometimes a 16-year-old student behaves like an adult at the age of the end of 20 or so. I know these examples, and so you can't predict really, you know. But the knowledge they have to bring. They have to qualify through their application forms, letter of recommendation from their teacher. But this is, maybe if you, sometimes they are very similar. So what does it say? Yeah? Then they have to write a letter of motivation by themselves. This says much more. And of course, they have to list their out-of-school activities and a report of school. And we look at this, and it's fine. The letter of motivation is it's the most informative document. And it is not, since the price for most of the students who apply completely on their own is quite high. For some of them, for others, they laugh at it. We want to accept the students. We want to find out what is their real interest. Are they applying for a camp in Germany to just fun, or are they applying for a camp because they have a real interest in science, in doing these experiments? This is something we have to find out before. But it is, since it is hard work, there is nearly no fun advertisement or something. It is hard work. That's what we tell them, you know. And that worked. Normally it works. I can't remember exceptions, and no, I think mostly it worked.
Yeah, I can confirm. Yeah. Thanks. And George had a question, please, Linda.
Thank you very much. We all know that the most important part are the new generation, but you also mentioned these teacher training courses. My question is about the focus of them. Are there, during these teacher training courses, the teachers learn this methodology, or they also have some support how to introduce it in their own teaching, into their own way of teaching? Or actually they do similar experiments like the students just to learn the background, the scientific background? So what is the focus of this?
The focus is indeed that the teachers, they do exactly the same experiments as the students. Yeah. They are not modified, and they are not designed to bring it into school directly. Impossible. Yeah, with this equipment it is impossible. But the teacher in the end, on the one hand, he has a lecture and he can put questions. And all his colleagues have the same problem. These are experiments they normally never did during their own education, at their own studies. For these experiments are new ones. And molecular biology was not a part of the teacher training or in the 20, 30 years ago, you know, and more. And so, and what the teacher will bring home is a new experience, new knowledge, and when he starts teaching his kids, his students about molecular biology, he can say, I did this experiment by myself. I know what I'm talking about. And I will not refer just to page 52 in the textbook. I did it by myself. And this makes the difference. So the teacher go home with a upright back.
I completely agree with you, and I think we should mention that new methodology and a quite new approach to teaching and science. So it is also very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for all your questions. And now we would like to continue with the discussion on talent education in science. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much again. Have a micro here. Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, so I would like to ask Professor Gyöngyvér Molnár and also Dr. Zsolt Erőshonti to join us at the table. Thank you. Where would you like to sit? Yeah. Okay, so if you let me, I will cheat a little bit because we agreed in some questions before this day. So yesterday we agreed in some questions, so I will read them out. So our main topic today with this conversation is talent education in science, and I hope this will be very interesting because our three guests represent three different approaches to this question. Professor Gyöngyvér Molnár is representing the educational research, and Professor Eva Maria Neher represents the non-formal education. And the formal education is represented by Dr. Zsolt Erőshonti. So I think this will be interesting. The first question is about the age. How can we analyze and detect that a certain student is talented in science education? And when to start to settle special programs for the students? What is the earliest age it is worth to start with such a program? I would like to ask firstly Professor Gyöngyvér Molnár to tell us about what the educational research says about this question. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a very short answer and also a bit longer answer, as early as possible. So it means even in the kindergarten. If we look at research results, or even if you look at the next generation science standards from the US, which is like the national curricula here in Hungary. So it's a K-12 standard. So it means that they even describe not only for the compulsory schooling grades, but even for 2 years in kindergarten, how to motivate, how to encourage, how to raise the endurance also in science of kindergarten children. Because, you know, science is not only about learning definitions and learning facts, yes, but about developing reasoning skills, about developing thinking skills, and even this is very important at the kindergarten age. So my answer is at kindergarten level, yes, as early as possible. And if you look at our curricula now, unfortunately we started in grade 3, so we lose a huge amount of time. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Eva, please.
Maybe I'm allowed to.
It should work.
Okay, yeah. Maybe I should add something to you. Of course, I agree completely, as early as possible. That's right, but with the right material, and there are very often some mistakes. If you bring the young students if you give them the possibility to work with difficult machines, the result will be that it never ever. Yeah, so you have to be careful which experiments they really need. And of course, you are trained in pedagogic, and so I have my grandchildren, and my 11 years old, the oldest one, grandchild, he is looking for electronic devices, but he is just exploring it by himself. He is not taught by an adult, but doing it by himself. And with these machines you saw in the video and so, it is even hard for students being 16, 17 years old to handle it. So they have to not earlier. And don't put a child of this size in a real lab where it cannot look over the bench. This would be the wrong approach, but it's very often done in this way.
Okay, George, what is your experience as you are a director of a primary and a secondary school?
Actually, I can of course agree both of you, but I think it is an important part of what do we mean under the term talent education. I think you were quite right. I think the first years, let's start from the kindergarten, it is really, really important. But I think in the beginning, what should be in the focus is motivation and to raise the interest of the children towards science. And at the same time, I think we should give some basic knowledge that should be used during the talent education as well. And as being responsible to share you the experiences of formal education, we all know here in this room that the core curriculum starts science teaching in the 3rd grade and the individual subjects only in the 7th grade. I think, so that's why I tell you that motivation is the really important part. So we should give the children the possibility to look into, let's say, natural sciences, what it is, and to raise the interest also in extracurricular activities as well. But it's really important to start to deal with them as early as possible. So. But based on my experiences, or our experiences in our school, the focused talent is found. We found the focused talent at around the 9th grade, so at the age of 14 or 15.
Okay, thank you. Any remark to this question? Yeah.
Yes, I think. A general issue is that you have to teach the kids things which they don't know, but for which they are prepared for and developed for. So if we start to teach our children such curricula or such materials which they are not prepared for because they are not at that level of the development, then they lose them really, really quickly. And then we, at the very end, we won't have talented kids because we lost those kids at the very beginning. And I think that's the problem. And that's why really personalized instruction and the different teaching methods and even using the power of group work, of project work, where the kids can teach other, can explain each other, can experience and doing and running experience. Even if you think on Professor Öveges, he told us that we should experience and then afterwards we should think about it. So I think it's the most important thing.
Yeah. Thank you. Any questions or remark from the side of the audience? Please ask your questions or add your remarks. You can do it in Hungarian freely. You shouldn't do it in English. We will translate it. No? About the age, when to start? No. No more remarks. Okay, thank you. The next question is about the background and the environment. We start the talent education in science. What is the most important thing? The equipment, which we could see here in the X-Lab, for example, or the teacher's personality, or the social environment from the students are coming. So what do you think? What is the most important thing? You can start if you think.
More or less all. For the equipment is very important for doing science teaching for the older ones. The engaged teacher is important for the class as well as for teaching in a lab like others. If he cannot bring his enthusiasm, like our anatomist, to the students, they will not listen, they will think about different things. So, and the family background or social background is the same. When you have a family living under difficult conditions, maybe in an environment where they speak a completely different language, where they are analphabeten, illiterate, oder? Yeah? It will be much harder to teach and to bring enthusiasm to these people. But anyhow, we have to try. Don't miss these students.
Okay, I think we can agree. Actually, of course, all three fields are really important, but maybe I can rank them. I think the key I think the key component is the teacher. As you mentioned, the enthusiastic teacher, because if someone teaches in a school, let's say with no equipment, if the teacher is really keen on developing his or her students, I think this teacher can find a possibility can find a lab or any connection to give the children the possibility, give the student the possibility to learn. I think on the second stage is the social background, because we can imagine such a family background that cannot be dealt by any teacher. But I think the teacher personality sometimes can also find solutions for family or social background problems as well. So actually, I can choose the teacher, the enthusiastic, motivating teacher with good relationships, who can work in teams. I mean, who doesn't want to grab his or her student because he is mine. I would like to teach her everything. So I think this is the most important part.
And this question belongs to one of the most important questions of the PISA. So it's even an international in the research, and now we can say that the most important part of a good education system is you, the teachers. You are the most important part of a good educational system, the well-qualified teacher. They have monitored different educational systems all around the world. They have monitored different factors of the educational system, rich systems and poor systems. And the conclusion is you. You are the most important part of of the quality educational system. So, thank you.
Okay, so what is the most important factor? What do you think? Any teacher? Let's vote. Okay, let's start. Who thinks that teachers are the most important factors? Okay, so this is voted. Okay, so no equipment will go to the schools anymore. Okay, no, it's a joke. Yeah, okay. So I would like to continue what Genevieve said at the end about teachers and about teacher training. So what do you think, what is the main role of teacher trainer institutes? I mean, at the college level and after in the professional development level. Who is responsible for teacher training in science? And but Eva said that they focus on teaching teachers about the state-of-the-art science facts and science results. So who is the most responsible for this? I mean, in the professional development after finishing colleges for teachers. So what do you think? I think your turn.
I would start with the fact, which is really sad. If we look at the statistics, last year we had only 186 teacher or student teachers who entered the university in the whole country and who has at least one subject in science. So it's almost nothing, and that's the problem. Of course, there is also the issue which is raised a few years ago, developing science teachers, not physics and chemistry and biology, but developing science teachers, which has been also highlighted in this presentation, that even as a researcher, you need knowledge of different areas if you want to solve different problems which we face on a global around, and we need knowledge from different areas. And so even if we look at the statistics, education at a glance, and the rate of our hours, if you look at how it changed, for example, how many hours students have in physics or mathematics or biology, it decreased immensely in the last 10, 20 years, and now we also see the result of it, unfortunately, in the national and in the international assessments too. So I think we have to change a lot of things a lot of things, not only tiny, but basic things. And if you look at even our new national curricula and the principles of the new national curricula, it's brilliant. So I'm talking about the preambulum part of this national curricula. But if we going into the details, then we are not further than we were earlier. So we should change a lot of things, I think, first. Motivating kids that they want to become teachers and science teachers. It's the most essential part of the whole story, I think. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I was shocked about this number. So 168 for science or 86? Altogether, in the whole country? Oh, as a first-year student?
Yes.
Oh, it's shocking. Yeah. And what do you think, any of you, what should we do as a teacher to convince good students to come to join us in this field? Yeah, you can start. Yeah.
Yeah, even that's the reason why we should start this work even in kindergarten level. If you look at research results from 10 years, 15 years, then and 7th graders, most of the kids really hated physics, chemistry, and grammar. These were the 3 subjects which was at the bottom of this attitude scale. And then it's problematic. It's really problematic. So if we start this development, which is not based on facts and memorization, but about experiments and learning a beautiful word, because I think physics and chemistry and biology is about our world and about the amazing things which is around us, then our kids will be also more enthusiastic and they, yeah.
So how do you see, what do you see in Germany about this?
In Germany, I think we have the numbers of students applying for becoming a teacher. I think it's no problem meanwhile. So I think the numbers are fine. And one reason is of course that the payment is quite good in Germany, and they are employees of the country permanently, and they have holidays. Of course, those teachers who are really, really very much engaged, they even work during their holidays, you know. But nevertheless, it is attractive to do, and it is also attractive for students as later teachers who want to raise a family. For we have so many nice rules that women and fathers can take time off after giving birth in the family, not only once but again and again. So it's very, very attractive to go in this system. And your holidays are always, it's the same period of time as your as the holidays of your family. So I think there are some very attractive aspects to do so. But maybe this is only one. First of all, you need your enthusiasm to become a teacher. And I was teaching teachers, student teachers, and what I realized, there is one group, so hundreds of them, there is one group who was focusing on these issues I just described. But there was another very good, very big group who stated, I want to become a teacher. I want to, not to deal with, but to work with young students, to develop their interests in different, to work with them. So they were like medical doctors, so they wanted to work with human beings and not with the glass vessel in the lab, you know. And this is an experience people do in the X-Lab as well. There are those who say, okay, in theory, science is extremely interesting. Doing experiments is extremely interesting. But I want to go in a more socialized environment and work with people or with young students and not with the machines, you know, and not only with the computer. This is a question of personality. And also under these, I forgot to stress it out, under these people, young students who are so much interested in science and really want to go there, there are those who say, ooh, chemistry, no, I don't want to deal with chemicals. I want to do theoretical chemistry. So this young man, I know him, had once experience and focused now on more theoretical things. And there is another one, or not one, but an example, that the students say, biology, molecular biology, working with all these small liquids, putting them together, knowing I want to do later on, I want to study law. I want to become, we first of all would say, okay, completely different direction. But especially those who are later on, now I'm missing some words, Urteil, justice, when there is a person who his DNA was found and he was a murderer, it is not a bad idea that also the lawyer has an idea what does it say this, what does it say the test says to me, so it is having these experiences is important for more or less everybody for a short time, not forever, but just to have this experience. Sorry, it was too long.
No. It was really valuable. I can understand that motivation from the earliest stages possible for science is really important, but I think nowadays in Hungary, who is really motivated towards biology, chemistry, physics, and so on, will go into science or in any other fields, but for teaching. And I think what is really important, we all know here that what is the problem today with being teachers, start a family life and so on and so on. But what I think, which is the most serious problem, that imagine a 17-year old pupil. He would like to choose a job. He or she has different images of different jobs. What a doctor does in the weekdays, what a lawyer does, but actually he or she cannot see it day by day, but his or her teachers. And what we feel in the school, it is the way of motivation we give to the students. And I think here we should put these 3 dots, because we all know how we go into the classroom. I think this is one part. Of course, the other is the social, let's say, acceptance of being a teacher nowadays. But I think what the students see in the school, actually the reveal of this situation. Of course, one more thing. I think if we would like to turn some students towards being a teacher, somehow we should find those children who like teaching, who like sharing their knowledge. I think we can elaborate different programs for them. let's have an example, a mentoring program between students, the older one teaching the younger one. Maybe some of them can catch the beauty of teaching. But I think what is most important, what they see on our faces day by day.
So I do completely agree, but to tell the truth, I didn't want to raise another topic because this is valid for all kinds of teachers, even for lawyers in the field of history or Hungarian grammar and literature and so on. So it's not only valid for science. It's a general issue now in Hungary, and I really hope that this will be somehow solved, or we will have steps, because you have learned the statistics, and our education system will collapse if nothing happens in a really short time.
Okay, I could feel that amongst the audience there is some excitement about this question. So if you have any comment, please share with us freely. Please feel free. Yeah, please. No? No. That was a lady. Yeah, no? Okay. Anyone? You teach student teachers. Yeah, freely. Yeah, no problem. Feel free. He will ask in Hungarian and I will.
Köszöntök mindenkit, Csigér István vagyok, én a Szegedi Tudományegyetemnek a gyakorló gimnáziumban tanítok most már több mint 30 éve, és pont ezzel a problémával szoktam találkozni. Van összehasonlítási alapon, mert több mint 150 tanárjelöltem volt már eddig. Biológia és valamilyen más szakosok, és 20 éve körülbelül államvizsgabizottságban is látom a tanárszakosokat, és a tendencia a következő, amit én megállapítottam, az, hogy ha a másik tárgyuk nem természettudományos, hanem valamilyen humán, tehát egy nyelv, még az angol nyelv hagyján, mert a tudomány nyelve is ugye nagyjából az angol, vagy valamilyen más, magyar nyelv és irodalom vagy egyéb, akkor nagy részét nem is értik, amit tanítanak a tanárjelöltek sajnos, mert olyan gyenge háttérismeretük van, az egyetemen is viszonylag kevés olyan alapozó tárgyuk van, amivel a fizikai, illetve a kémia alapokat meg tudnák, vagy el tudnák sajátítani úgy, hogy ők magyarázni tudjanak azzal. A másik dolog az, hogy az államvizsga során tapasztalom azt, hogy nagyon sok tanárjelölt a szakmai részből, a vizsga szakmai részéből, tehát a biológia tantárgyukból, vagy komplexből legfeljebb az emelt szintű érettségi anyagát tudják. Úgy, hogy azt a vizsgabizottság is úgy tudja értékelni, hogy látszik rajta, hogy érti, amiről beszél. De sajnos egy olyan 40%-ok körülbelül olyan, aki ott sem érti nagyjából, hogy miről beszél. Tehát ha valamilyen okokozati kérdést föltesz az ember nekik, vagy olyan háttérismerettel támasszák alá ezt és ezt az állításukat, akkor ez nem fog nekik sikerülni. Ez nagyon szomorú dolog, viszont azt tapasztalom, hogy akik hozzánk jönnek gyakorolni, jelentős részük azért nagyon szeretnének fejlődni, és nagyon nem veszik rossz néven, sőt kifejezetten örülnek annak, hogy a szakvezető tanáraik például igyekeznek belőlük kihozni a lehető legjobbat. Tehát a nagy részük azért nagyon lelkesen áll a munkához, és ott szembesülnek azzal, hogy mennyi hiányosságuk van. Amikor azon kell elgondolkodniuk, hogy amit ők az egyetemen sem értettek meg rendesen, azt most hogy fogják ők elmagyarázni a tanítványoknak, a középiskolásoknak. Tehát ez nagyon komoly probléma szerintem, és én is csak azt tudtam az eddigi pályám során csinálni, hogy a órákra való készülés során, az előkészítések során, vagy pedig az értékelő megbeszélésekkor, vagy mindkettőn, igyekszem velük legalább azt a szemléletet és azt a háttérinformációt közölni, vagy átadni, amit én úgy gondolok ennyi tapasztalat után, hogy talán ő nekik a fejlődésükhöz ez jót tesz. Szóval szomorú a kép, és most még a biológia tanárok hagyján, mert az utóbbi néhány évben még viszonylag nagy számú tanárjelöltünk volt, tehát én nekem eddig csak az utolsó 5 évet nézem, akkor fél évente 4, esetleg 5, sőt, ez a gyakoribb, hogy 5 tanárjelöltem is van, és még 2 másik szakvezető kollégám is van. Tehát egy olyan 15-20 hallgatónk van évente tanárjelöltként, de más tárgyakból, természettudományos tárgyakból, tehát fizikából, kémiából alig vannak hallgatók. És ami szomorú, ami régebben a legnagyobb létszámot jelentette a matematika-fizika szakosok, azokból aztán szintén nagyon lecsökkent a szám. Tehát nem csodálkozom azon, hogy az összesített természettudományos tantárgyakból 160-valahányan jelentkeztek, mert a Szegedi Tudományegyetemre is alig lehet feltölteni a TTIK-n is, például a biológia szakos hallgatókat is, mármint a létszámot. Köszönöm szépen, hogy meghallgattak.
Köszönjük szépen, thank you very much. It was really valuable. So, yeah, please. Mr. Röser would like to add something.
So, yes, so I think there is someone mentioned that the teachers are not enough qualified or not having enough knowledge for teaching science. So I think that I cannot say that that's true, but there is a tendency. So I'm teaching teachers for 20 years now, and then when I started we had just the 5 years teaching system. Partially I'm teaching also in Germany, and then we have also there just there is a division that we have the bachelor time 3 years, and then we have the master. And I think that we cannot change that, but before the 5 years until the diploma was better, because we really had time. So we had 1 year for anatomy and histology, we had 1 year for physiology, and since we have this division, the 3 years bachelor and the 2 years master, in the 3 first years we push everything on the students, and then we unify anatomy, histology, physiology, biochemistry in 1 semester, which is then a mess. And then in the master time we don't have time again to go back to the roots, and somehow the students progress through the 5 years without really having the deep, solid ground. But that we cannot change. We have to live with that. But if someone sees that maybe the fresh, new teachers do not know enough compared to the old school teachers, that might be the reason. That we have a discrepancy, that science is increasingly growing, but somehow we do not have the same amount of time for the teaching at the universities than we had before 20 or 30 years ago. But that's just my impression. I cannot judge really if that's true or not. And to be a teacher in Hungary, I think it's not attractive the time being now. In Germany, it's completely different. Again, it is something which should change at a nation level, and I just don't see that it will change in the near future. Nevertheless, we can hope for the best, that it might change in the future. So thanks, it was just a side note from my side. Thank you.
Excuse me, without any remarks, can I add the statistics which can probably explain this gap? 20 years ago, because you mentioned 20 years ago, 20 years ago, at about 85% of our students at the science faculty were trained for teaching. Now this rate is 10%. So there is a big difference between these.
Thank you. Any other remarks on teacher training? No. It is interesting. We started to speak about talent education, and finally we concluded in teacher training. So now we can convince again ourselves that the most important question is who teaches our students. So we hope that you enjoyed this afternoon. Thank you very much again for our special guests today. Firstly, I would like to thank you for Professor Gyöngyvér Molnár. Thank you. And also, we thank you very much for Professor Eva Maria Neher to join us for this afternoon, and we wish her a lot of happiness in XLab and also with her grandchildren. Thank you. And thank you for all of you, and we wish you a very pleasant evening today. So, thank you. Köszönöm szépen.